Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is 33 minutes after the hour now here on Tuesday, September 17. It was just about this time yesterday morning. We've seen so many of these mass shootings, far, far too many around the country. This one so close to home at our Washington Navy Yard. They're on the scene yesterday throughout the day with Mayor Vincent Gray and with Police Chief Kathy Lanier was our Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, who joins us on our news line this morning. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us. Let me ask you, how did you get the news yesterday morning, and what was your immediate reaction?
Well, I'd been in an early morning meeting and came out, and staff told me, and I have to tell you, this was very close. This was in Capitol Hill neighborhood, the neighborhood where you and I live, in the neighborhood where the Congress lives.
Right.
I also feel deeply about this particular installation. You know, it's called some kind of military installation. Most of the people there are federal employees, the same people who are on sequester, the same people who are on furloughs. They give you a good sense of who federal employees are, and you notice that when their names were revealed, most of them were middle-aged. These are people who've been with the federal government for their entire careers. And, of course, these are people who are being kicked in the you-know-what by the Congress every day. They are the people we should be, when we think of who a federal worker is, that's who these people are. And they were in this secure facility that it baffles me when it comes to a gun getting in there. Because it has been a facility that has indeed been part of the neighborhood. In fact, they built a new banquet hall, and organizations from throughout the region hold their banquets there. It's terrific. But if you want to go in there in the daytime, you got to have that, sterling ID. I can't get in there without showing my congressional ID. So one of the things I'm going to do today, when I get to the House of Representatives, is to investigate how to get an independent investigation of what happened, why it happened, how we can secure this building without shutting it down, which was, of course, the reaction after 9/11. And these are perhaps the worst casualties and fatalities we've had in this region since 9/11.
In this region, right. You mentioned the workers who were there. I believe that all of the victims were civilian employees who were working
That's right. When one hears about a military installation today, remember that the federal government has moved many of its Department of Defense employees onto military bases. And, of course, the Sea Systems Command has been there for a long time. They're highly secret. You have to have a lot of security to even work there. And across the street from the Sea Systems Command at the Navy Yard are a whole set of office buildings that sprung up because the contractors have to be close to the secure facility. And, of course, it turns out that this man was a contractor or a subcontractor. The Sea Systems Command began the revival of this entire section of Washington along M Street, which is now the most rapidly developing new neighborhood in the nation's capital. So we think highly of the Sea Systems Command, and we want to make sure it's protected, and we want to make sure they stay a part of the neighborhood.
Did it surprise you to learn that an individual like this, with his background of mental problems and also problems with guns, would have a security clearance and would be able to drive into this facility with apparently an assault weapon in the trunk of his car?
Well, one wonders. He seems to have had a security clearance, but he looks like he did not use his own badge, which may mean that it had been taken from him, and maybe he was reacting to that. But he was not using the secure badge that is necessary of his own. And police have already gone to speak with the man whose security badge it was. And so they found him. of the great mysteries here is how did this man get it? And maybe somebody did do their homework on this man.
Yeah.
We don't know.
So we know that the guy was a
Karl Frisch.
Sorry, Karl Frisch here. We know the guy was a contractor or a subcontractor. Edward Snowden was a contractor. Can we be doing more to make sure that the folks that we're entrusting with either badges, even if they're using their colleague's badge, or intelligence, are vetted properly? I mean, it's one thing to say that this guy shouldn't have had access to a gun. Perhaps this guy shouldn't have had access to such a sensitive job as a contractor.
From what we're hearing, this is a man who began to deteriorate. This may be a man who got his security clearance earlier in his life, deteriorated, and nobody noticed. So the unknowns here are huge. I'm sure the Navy is going to do its own investigation, but I think we need an independent investigation. And I don't mean simply the polarized Congress. I mean experts. Experts on security, experts on the new tendency of the federal government to put federal employees on these bases, experts on mental health with security workers. We need people who understand this entire realm that most Americans don't even know are civilian federal workers, involved civilian federal workers.
And Congresswoman, there's a feeling in the Capitol today, I guess the attitude I've heard from a lot of people is, if Congress wouldn't do anything after Newtown, Connecticut, and those 21st graders, why would we expect them to do anything after the Navy Yard? Do you share that kind of that
I hate
attitude?
To say it, Bill, but that cynicism is well placed.
Yeah. Sad, isn't it?
I think if you don't live in the United States and have some sense of the proliferation of guns, so that there are more guns than people, if you live anywhere else in the world, you simply will shake your head. You will think we are from another planet. Bill, we are the only advanced society in the world that has problems with guns. How is it that all allies live in greater peace and that we have taken to shooting up one another? It's because there's so many guns, and you have guns, somebody's going to...
Congresswoman? Well, afraid we lost her. She must have been on her cell phone. I was going to ask her about also, it was for most of the day until late in the day. Congresswoman, you're back?
I'm back.
I'm sorry. There you go. You were just talking about the fact that it does seem, Congresswoman, that members of Congress have an exaggerated opinion about the power and influence of the NRA.
But they get that influence, Bill, from, for example, what happened in the Colorado recall.
Yes.
Just this week. Here you had whenever there's a recall, you have very few people who vote. And two people who bravely led their legislature are now deprived of office. Well, that's a shot across the bow of not only these Republicans, but I have to tell you, of a fair number of Democrats. And unless we continue to fight them back toe-to-toe, they're going to continue to hold the ground. So I applaud Mayor Bloomberg, who's trying to give them a taste of their own. You fund that side, let us fund this side. We've got to do it with everything we've got.
Well, and I guess this is Karl again. I guess the big problem, though, when it comes to this kind of stuff and how people vote, is that you've got people like my dad who are, quote-unquote gun nuts, who vote only on the gun issue. They are motivated entirely to vote and who they vote for based on guns. And you've got very, very few people on the opposite side of that coin. There are plenty of people who are in favor of gun control and whatnot, and sensible gun reforms, but very few of them are motivated solely on that issue.
Or as passionate as the gun owners are.
That's right. And what do you do when you have people, a minority and a very small minority of that, who can outgun, excuse the word, the majority simply by their intensity and by their devotion to going to the polls?
Right. Congresswoman, I thought one thing was evident yesterday is this city, the D.C. Police Department and the federal agencies were really on the scene fast and did excellent work yesterday. You were right. You were right there, and you saw that.
I saw it, and I have to tell you, they saved lives. The police officer who was shot, he was shot saving the lives of many, many federal employees. And I think you also saw the really quite extraordinary cooperation that exists between a big city police force, the Metropolitan Police Department, as we call them, and the federal police, especially the Park Police. The Capitol Police were very frustrated because they weren't allowed to go, even though they have all of the specialists of the other police forces, because the sergeant at arms kept them in the Capitol.
Yeah.
But you did see both the region and the federal police acting as one. That's in part a result of 9/11, but it goes back even further to the fact that we have had inaugurations in this town, and those inaugurations have taught the region to act as virtually a single police force in order to protect those who are present.
Yeah, and it really did pay off yesterday. But Congresswoman, I know it was a busy day for you. Thank you so much for starting it off with us this morning. Appreciate it very much. And as always, my good friend and good neighbor, we'll talk to you again soon.
Of course, Bill.
Thanks. Eleanor Holmes Norton. Every news conference I saw with the mayor and the police chief they had yesterday, and they have one every 2 hours. The Congresswoman was right there with them. We'll be back. Take your questions and your comments on yet another mass shooting here in this country. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Karl Frisch is with us as a friend of Bill.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.